Evan? Wes? Evan! Oh, I'm right here, Hefe. What the hell happened, man? Like, oh god, I ain't feeling good. Dude, we still have to finish that Belgian episode. We still gotta do the other half of it. Oh, shit. Well, we are committed. Let me get my shirt. Okay. Are you ready, Effie? No. Are you? No. I think they're ready, though. This is what you wanted, right? Stay tuned.
Hey everybody, Wildman Wes here.
And Hefe.
And welcome to part 2 of our Belgian beer review. So, we had 4 Belgian beers last time, and we've got 4 more to round it off.
Absolutely. The first episode was more about the typical Belgian beers where you'd see single, double, triple, quad. Today's are the more wild versions, and I say that with a bit of a pun because we have some wild fermented beers here. We've seen this one before, but today we're going to be grading it specifically on the beer itself and not necessarily in a versus aspect. And then we have a Kriek Boon. It's a Goes beer, which like goose beer, Guise.
Okay, I have no idea.
It's really weird. G-E-U-Z-E. It's a wild fermented soured beer, but it's on a different kind of palate than what we'd say with the Rouge. Then one of my personal favorites, Lucifer, which is a Belgian strong ale.
I haven't had it in a while.
And then we have the Prearis here. Now there's a lot of really interesting stuff about this beer in general. I'm going to be going over that when we get to it. But this is a barrel-aged Belgian beer. And this is from 2015. It's 5 years old. So
it's going to be fun.
So we're going to go through all of these and tell you what we think.
All right, well, without any hesitation, let's pop these open.
First beer we're going to hit today is the Cuvee de Jacobean Rouge. So it's a red sour ale. We talked about it last time. It is a traditional Flanders red ale. It is going to be tart and a little sour, and this one is pretty smooth. We have had this more recently, but this definitely does perfectly depict what a red Flanders ale from Belgium should taste like.
I mean, I loved it. I mean, at first I was a little thrown off because I wasn't sure whether or not there should be like a vinegar smell to... He does know his own strength, folks. No, but I was worried about the vinegar smell, but at the same time, most, Flemish sours, as you mentioned, have that, kind of cherry malt vinegar,
Definitely.
Smell to it.
Vinegary is very common flavor when it comes to sour beers, especially traditional red Flemish beers. For anyone wondering why we were looking at it funny, when I opened it, I nicked the top of the glass, so...
Hoping that I don't get any glass in my stomach.
Oh, God,
that should be fine. Looks like a clean break.
So here we go again.
Cheers.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Sour, that dark cherry, dark fruit sweetness to it. Definitely carbonated and refreshing.
Now, in the description of this, it says like things that's fermented with. It says cocoa. I'm not really getting the cocoa. Now that I look back on it, I'm just like,
You kind of look at the cocoa as coming from the malt.
Okay. Because I'm getting more of the apple and cherry.
Absolutely.
But everything else, I'm not.
Those natural fruit flavors that they put in there. This is something that we didn't discuss about how these Flanders and sour beers are made in Belgium. Traditionally, for literally thousands of years, this is how they would do it. So normally when you're making a beer, you have it inside of these vats that are completely closed in, airtight, right? You don't want anything getting in them. What they did in Belgium was that they would make a sheet, like a table like this, and it would have walls on it. And they would put their beer in there, and then they would throw in the fruit and everything that they want right in it, and they would leave it open. And not only would they leave it open, but they had pulley systems where they would take these tables and they would pull these up to the rooftops where it was completely open to the whole wild outside. So any of the wild yeasts, including anything from pollen and flowers, bugs, birds, anything wild and had any kind of microorganism in it was in this beer. Clearly it was filtered, but that's where you get the sour flavor from. The sour flavor comes from those wild yeasts eating all of the sugars that they would throw inside of this vat. Then they would filter it through, put it in a bottle, let it age.
Well, that being said, being in the wild, hey, if a bird really shit in this thing, hey, I wouldn't know.
I wouldn't know, exactly. That is kind of a disgusting fact about those traditional type sours. Obviously, the way that they make sours now, some people still do the open fermentation. May not want the bugs and stuff, but it still is being made that way, and but it is a lot more controlled, especially in this country. People make the wild fermented sours. They still use the fermenting tables, and I saw one actually in Chicago at the Dovetail Brewery.
Oh, okay.
That's how they make theirs. Very controlled area, though, where they do it. But this is a traditional way of brewing these sour ales. With this being the first beer that we've had today, this is fresh on your palate.
Mm-hmm.
What is the impression? How many pals?
I'm pretty sure I gave it about 4 1/4 in the beer versus, but I mean, I'm pretty much gonna stick with like 4 to 5, 4 to 5 pounds. I mean, some of the sour. I mean, I love the sour. It's just, the description of, on the bottle. Obviously there's gonna be some things you don't necessarily catch.
Right, and everybody's
and that's why it's like, that's where I'm a little disappointed, slightly, not a lot. I mean, that alone is not going to take, a huge knock out of the grade. So, but yeah, 4 out of 5 pounds for me.
There you go. I'd give it 4.5. This really is super traditional to style. It's extremely refreshing, easily approachable, and like you said, you could drink this all day. You really could. If you have the palate for a sour beer, this is a fantastic go-to for you. So I say 4.5 out of 5.
4.5. All right. Well, now that we finished this sour deliciousness, we move on to our next round. And is this one going to be a sour, or is this one going to be a little bit sweeter?
It's going to catch you off guard, my friend.
I'm looking forward to it. We'll be right back.
All right, for our next beer, this is a very unique one. They call it Ode Charbixie, which is the type of cherries that they use. Kriek Boon. Kriek just means cherry. And a Boon or Boon Goose, those are basically just it's like a Lembeek, but like champagne-y.
Okay.
So Lembeek beers are fruited ales. You'll probably see some in Lindemans. You see those as just a Lembeek beer. So this is our Lembeek introduction to our Belgian series. This one was aged and bottle fermented in 2018. So a couple years, not bad. So I'm really interested to see how this one kind of goes up against the last one we just had, which had some cherry notes, but this one was made with very specific cherries in general. So it wants to give you the traditional champagne-y feel of a champagne type beer, but then strong cherry flavor. So this is going to be very, very unique.
And we have another cork, ladies and gentlemen.
Another cork. Man, we love the suspense of those, huh?
All right. Woo!
There we go.
Hey.
I didn't flick that one.
Oh,
look at that. Red.
That is beautiful.
Red. So when you typically hear about a red sour ale, this is what you expect. So like the last one, even though it's called Rouge, which means red, the sour ale on that it's more of the traditional Flanders red, which is like a dark amber. These lambic beers are straight up fruit beers. Normally that means that they don't have as many, it doesn't have as much alcohol by volume. This one is 6%, so it is higher than your typical lambic, but if you look at this, it is straight up looks like juice.
Yeah, you said that, the champagne type, you know,
Yeah,
I mean,
so,
that carbonation, that fizz, it's just...
That fizz is very champagne-like. The carbonation in there is very light and bubbly. It's not as muted.
Yeah.
Super cherry. But you know what?
Very
We'll
cherry.
see where this goes, right?
All right, yeah.
Very dry. Very much. This is very much a cherry champagne. I'm getting a lot of those dry notes, a little bit of bitterness from like tannins.
Okay.
But the tannins are being the skin of the cherries, and it's very similar to like a wine. Think of it like a cherry wine, a bubbly cherry wine is what this kind of reminds me of. What do you think?
So we've had conversations before about how I feel about, like, you know, fruit in beers and everything. There was one that I had a really bad experience with. It was Leinenkugel's Berry Weiss.
Okay, yeah.
This, it doesn't taste like it. It reminds me of it, but better.
Okay.
For me, it's like it's kind of like it's thinned out, or I wouldn't say watered down.
I'd say natural.
Yeah, natural is the word I'm looking
Definitely.
for.
When you're talking about like the berry weiss or any of those like berry shandies or anything like that, obviously those are made with fruit or fruit alternatives, but they taste artificial. This tastes very natural. This is the first time you've ever had anything like this, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the first time, and I'm very sold on it.
So you do smell a lot of the cherries, but you definitely smell like that champagne-y booziness to it. So really, I'm still like, even in just like talking, what's coming off of my breath, it feels more like I'm drinking champagne or a wine than actually
like a very dry champagne.
Very dry. Yeah, we cannot express enough that this is dry, and the tannins in this beer make it feel more dry. The longer that tannins are left in a beer, the more dry it becomes, and it just soaks out that sweetness. But this is still really, really good. So there's a lot of beers out in America that when they use cherries, they use a very specific type of cherry, but what they're trying to get is more of that cherry sweetness, not necessarily the tannin dryness. So this is more of a traditional where they're getting that dryness in there. Very, very unique.
I am getting a lot of carbonation, you know, like I'm feeling like I got to burp a lot. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but it's not a great thing either.
Right. Well, I mean, when you drink champagne, it's very similar. I mean, you don't chug champagne.
I mean, a situation like this, I mean, it's very delicious.
Sure.
For me, I would probably only do like one bottle. I mean,
absolutely.
Especially because
if
I'm
you're
drinking
share it too.
Yeah, and if I'm drinking more than that, you know, sorry folks, that's how gassy I'm getting from the carbonation on it.
Most lambics, I would say, make a really good mixer beer. If you have a really boring beer and you just have like a green apple palm, which just means green apple, lambic beer, and you add it to it, then you have a green apple beer. If you add the raspberry to a chocolate stout, you have chocolate covered raspberry. You know what I mean? So like that, with them being lower alcohol for the most part, it makes it a really easy mixer beer. This one is very much do not mix it. You don't want to. This is a traditional kind of beer that you just want to sip on and enjoy.
Then that's probably why I'm getting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm getting burpy right now. It's because I've been chugging it.
Sure. So, what are your pals, sir?
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and do 4 1/4 on this one. I wanted to give it 4 1/2.
Really, 4 1/4? That's a lot higher than I expected.
Well, because I wanted to give it 4 1/2, just because the fact is, you know, the flavor on it. Like you said, it's very natural. I mean, it's almost like you're biting into a cherry.
Sure, absolutely.
And I think it's just, and it's, you know, it's crisp. You know, very light. It's just, but at the same time, with that carbonation for me, it kind of throws me off a little bit. Slightly.
Do you have any sediment in the bottom of your glass?
Yeah, I do have.
That's bits of cherry in there.
Yeah.
There's a difference between like seeing yeast sediment or fruit sediment, and
I'm getting more.
This is light and it's floating.
I'm getting more of the cherry notes and flavor right at the end because of the sediment.
100%. Yep.
Ooh.
So 4 1/4, huh?
I'm looking for.
Wow. I mean, I'm super surprised. I will agree. 4 1/4, unanimous. That one, this is a really good beer. I really enjoy it. I definitely recommend it to anybody.
I'm loving it. I'm loving that we've had 2 great beers so far, and we've got 2 more to go, and I'm hoping that they, rival these ones as well.
Well, the next one down the road is a little evil.
Evil. Let's see how evil it is.
This next beer is a personal favorite of mine, and I rate it at least 5 stars every single time I drink it because it always reminds me of every single reason why I love Belgian beer. This has every note, it hits every single mark. Check, 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 please.
When you told me that we were doing this one, I haven't had it in at least a year.
It's
2. Maybe 2, and I'm just like, how did I forget about this one?
First off, this beer itself isn't the easiest to come by.
No.
Because
that's why it's been like 2 years since
you
I've
can
had
look
it.
it up on Binny's, and most of the time it will either say maybe in stock, call, or not in stock. A lot of places used to carry this beer a couple years ago. It didn't really fly off the handle. This is from a brewery in Belgium called Anker, and they're I don't know if you can see that, but their brewery logo is literally just 2 anchors. And this one is very different from the rest of their beers. But Lucifer, that's a bold name.
Yeah.
Lucifer. This is what it's called everywhere it goes. There are different versions. There's Lucifer Negro, there's Lucifer White, there's Lucifer Regular, which is what we're having today, and this one right here is my favorite. Lucifer White is more like an Allagash White or a Blue Moon with no orange.
Okay.
The Negro would be more like a kind of like a hazy hazy double.
Okay.
But this one, as a strong ale, Belgian strong, or some people might argue say Belgian triple, very similar, but Belgian strong ale is what is typically known as. This beer in particular, it's 8%, and it is just light, it is crisp, I'm just going to stop talking about it and let us drink it.
Yeah, enough stalling on this one.
Right. Oh my god. So, obviously the first thing that attracts people to this beer is the name. And then when they see the logo, and they see the devil standing on the flames with his pitchfork, which his pitchfork is
an anchor. That is awesome.
It's really cool. I've seen.
I just noticed it for the first time.
Yeah, I've seen multiple variants of this. Oh man, report. Look at that carbonation. Oh, it's beautiful.
Oh. Well, let it never be said that hell doesn't give good head.
Ah. I actually kind of always make that joke when I say when I first started drinking this beer, serving this beer, I would always go up to the table and just say, just so you know, be careful, Lucifer likes to give head. And he's very gracious with his head, so you have to be patient, let him do his thing.
Right.
Pouring this beer at a table always just filled up that glass with the head. But
that's
very
hazy.
Yes. Hazy, a little bit of haze.
Good carbonation.
You smell the malt, and not in a chocolatey way, but it's oaty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna say
the carbonation is strong. This is definitely one of my favorites.
Smells much like a blonde.
Yeah, absolutely. It's light, fruity, crisp, carbonated, sour, little tiny tart. This beer is, to me,
and it goes down like
absolutely
like a blonde ale.
This beer to me
smooth.
Is exactly how beer should be made. I love this beer. And I'm just getting this out of the way. 5 pounds.
5 pounds unanimous on that.
5 pounds.
I agree.
I never argue with this beer. If I ever get a beer,
Lucifer, I've missed you so much.
If I ever get this beer and it tastes off, I would just not drink it because I don't want to ruin my idea of what a Lucifer is. This one I actually had specially imported because I didn't feel like driving out. I think the closest place was a Bloomingdale. So
that's a bit of a drive.
My girlfriend did it for me once. I was very appreciative. But this is a fantastic brew. If you ever see this or hear about it, or I'm not even kidding, go online, Belgian Beer Imports, and just order this beer, and it will be mailed to your door. Just do yourself a favor. You have to try Lucifer. Let Lucifer into your life, and it will be changed.
It's a beer, okay? Well, some people think beer is religion in a way, I guess.
It is. It really is.
Well, in Belgium,
without beer, there wouldn't be society.
That's true.
And society brought us Lucifer. Yeah. I can't say any more good about this beer. This is if you were not sold by our reaction alone by this, just try it yourself. You can get one single bottle of Belgian Beer imports. Just do yourself a favor and give it a shot, because it really is one of the best beers I've ever had, and it will always be up there. Number one for me every single time.
Yeah, what he said. Pretty much what he said. Well, with that being said, too, well, we've been sinners on this beer, and who knows, maybe the last one make us saints. You never know.
I feel like some people who drank the next beer were going to probably felt like saints.
Sounds good to me.
For our last beer for the Belgian Beer review, and to top off everything with a sort of cherry, but not made of cherry. This is Prearis Grand Cru, 2015. So this beer is 5 years old as it is. It is a dark Belgian ale, and Grand Cru means that it was barrel aged in a certain type of barrel. This one in particular was barrel aged in Grand Marnier barrels.
So, I did not know that about that now, and now that you told me. Ooh.
Grand Marnier is a citrus liqueur. It is a high-end citrus liqueur. A lot of people get this added. Some people drink it straight, but it does get added to certain high top shelf margaritas. I am very intrigued with this brand, because the last time I had a Prearis Grand Cru was in 2015, but I had Jack Daniel's barreled and other bourbon barreled versions. This is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, because anything that I've ever had, barrel aged or whatnot, has always been like a bourbon.
Sure,
so
absolutely.
For Grand Marnier, I'm just as intrigued as you are.
Absolutely.
Now, I do have a question while you're opening this bottle. From the last time we were doing some of these reviews, you were mentioning about the green bottles, about how sometimes certain beers or certain ales tend to get a little skunky.
Sure.
With something that's dark like this, would it tend to get skunky, or would it tend to hold a little better? Well, obviously, because it's 5 years.
It has a possibility of being a little skunky, but most of the time, especially bottles like this is a wax cork, by the way, so it kind of...
I'm going to lean back a little bit.
This is going to be a little... There we go.
Okay. Whew.
Okay, yeah, wax cork off.
Your workout for the day.
Yeah. This should be really well kept when it is ordered. This should be out of sunlight. In fact, it shouldn't even be in regular light. Just in the dark as much as possible is the best option for this one. You're going to see, this
very
brown,
dark amber.
Dark amber. I'm actually not seeing a lot of carbonation, and I'm not sure if that's something to be worried about. There's like no carbonation in this at all.
Yeah, barely. On the top.
So we'll see.
It's just skimming it.
But yeah, that's just dropping on the...
Wow.
Okay, this smells boozy.
Smells good. I mean, and I can definitely smell that citrus from the Grand Marnier.
Yeah, okay. So it smells like a liquor.
But that's a good thing.
Now, that could have a lot to do with why there's not a lot of carbonation. That doesn't typically go with what a Belgian style is, but it definitely is like a brown. It's like a hazy brown. I'm getting sediment on the bottom.
Yeah, I'm seeing it on the mine too.
And it's probably just from it being aged. This is also, it is first fermented in a barrel and aged, and then it is bottle fermented, which again means that sugar was added to the bottle before, and actually I can even see here in the bottle some of the sediment and sugars that were left at the last pour there. So it had been sitting.
Even looking at the glass away from the light, it looks very much like a dark cider.
Yeah,
almost.
yeah, a little bit. Okay, so good luck, sir.
Up the rebels.
10% ABV, by the way. This drinks like a liquor.
Yeah.
It is thick, like syrupy.
Syrupy thick.
Thick.
Oh.
It doesn't really drink like a beer at all.
No.
I'm thinking 5 years may have been too long.
Yeah. No, I'm thinking so too. I mean, it's like there's almost like a raisin flavor to it.
Oh yeah, no, raisin. That's a totally normal.
Because I was wondering if maybe that like note of raisin was maybe because the yeast was eating up some of the sugars
Sure. Well, and that's just it. The thing with the yeast is supposed to eat the sugars to create alcohol and carbonation, and something over time had stopped the carbonation somehow. Because there's no carbonation to this at all. It is literally drinking like a thick malt liquor.
For me, it's almost as if like you've had a Long Island iced tea and all the ice melted, and it's just
kinda
It's like a watered down cocktail, almost. I mean, I'll drink this obviously. Because,
I don't know if I will anymore.
I'm you know me, I'm the trooper in this one. I mean, I'll drink it, but it's just it's fucking rough.
I'm okay. This was better when I first had it 5 years ago. I think this was aged too long, to be honest. I think that 5 years was too long on this one, unless like people are looking for a type of beer like this where it has no carbonation. There's no bubble. There's no.
Yeah.
It doesn't dance on the tongue. It literally just it has the flatness of water.
It's. I'm going to be very blunt on this. It's almost like a palate destroyer.
Yeah, this is not a... No.
Like, my palate literally right now is saying, Wes, what the fuck did you just do right now?
I'm going to say right now, if you see a bottle of the 2015 Prearis Grand Cru, doesn't matter what it's aged in, don't drink it.
I got so excited about this one.
We both got excited.
Yeah, and it's sad that this is the last one we're doing for the episode, and it's just...
But, if anything, it's a lesson. If anything in life is going to disappoint you, just remember it is a lesson that you learn from. I don't recommend this beer to anybody.
I can't either.
2015 Prearis Grand Cru aged in Grand Marnier. Just, I'm not even giving it a pow. Just don't get it.
Thumbs down.
Just no. Just Caesar rules. Kill it.
Yeah.
Just drain pour.
Well,
this is a drain pour. I'm sorry.
I'll finish the rest of this.
Nah, I don't know what's wrong with you, boy.
Motherfucker.
Overall, we could say that most beers from Belgium are going to be Class A awesome. Be careful how long you age beers. This one should have been able to be aged a little bit longer. This is proving to be not true. What I always say is, if a brewery comes out with a beer and puts it into the market, that is when they want you to drink it. There's very few beers where it will say recommended aging. Very few. Most of them are going to be stop yourself.
Ah!
Stop yourself.
Ah! I'm a glutton for punishment.
Most beers are wanting to be drank as soon as they touch your hands. That is going to be the best time that they can have the best effect.
This is kind of what we were talking about with King's Bitch.
Yes.
This is when King's Bitch goes wrong.
Yeah, this is like you lost all the carbonation. That was my first sign of okay, something wrong with this beer.
I'm not finishing. Fuck this.
It's very Overall, Belgian beers can be pretty awesome. Just drink them as soon as you get them. You see a 2015, as exciting as that may sound for certain types of beer, this is not a stout. This is not a bourbon barrel-aged stout. And even if this was a stout that was aged in Grand Marnier barrels, I would wonder, it lost all of the Belgian characteristics. And, yep. So.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode as best as, we could give it to you, because this last one really just took the oomph out of our end of review.
Really should have ended it with Lucifer. That was such a high note.
Yeah, but hey, it was a gamble and we took it. So, other than that, make sure that you leave a thumbs up. Leave a thumbs down if you think that this, beer, needed a better grade. And if you do give us a thumbs down for that one, well, you're more of a glutton for punishment.
We already gave ourselves a thumbs down for this one.
Right? But other than that, be sure you share on social media, and as always, push the red button, and don't forget to ring the bell for instant notifications on Dragonfire Entertainment. For a lot of the beer reviews that we do, and especially for hopeful future beer verses, if there's a beer that you would like to go up against another one, be sure you leave a request in that comment section below, and we'll do that and give you a shout out in the process for that beer versus. And if there's a beer you want us to check out, leave a request too, and we'll make sure to get it. Until then, I'm Wildman Wes.
And I'm Hefe.
And we will see you next time on What's Your Poison. Now let's go wash our mouths out from this shit.
Yeah.